Imagine this. In the dead of night, an unknown aircraft crosses the most secure airspace on Earth. No warning, no trace, one deadly strike, and then vanishes. Not a whisper from the radar, not a headline in the news, not a single claim of responsibility. Just shock and silence. Today, you're not just going to hear a story about technology or war. You're going to witness the unraveling of a moment that shook one of the most powerful nations on the planet and the eerie silence that followed. This isn't fiction. This isn't a movie. This is the real world reminder that we're entering a future where power is no longer about what you can see, but what you can't. Stay with me, because by the end of this speech, you won't just understand what happened, you'll understand why it matters to you, to your future, and to the world that's changing faster than any of us imagined. The first keynote refers to a mysterious aircraft that launched an unexpected and precise attack, catching Israel's advanced defense systems completely off guard. The Parisheze bun sinya duhana as nohana no ohe no aku no apun ohe o aku ama no aku ama 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 ama. In a region constantly monitored by satellites, drones, and multi-layer surveillance networks, the idea that an unidentified aircraft could enter Israeli airspace, strike a target, and initiate a tactical operation without early warning is both shocking and deeply concerning. This incident isn't just about one aircraft. It represents a significant breach in what is considered one of the most fortified air defense systems in the world. The systems that make and defend our society, and the system that defends our survival in the world. The fact that no official identification, whether from radar logs, infrared tracking, or electronic signal interception, was able to categorize or anticipate the approach of this aircraft implies that the object used cutting-edge stealth, cyber interference, or possibly unconventional flight patterns that bypassed traditional detection frameworks. The target of the attack, though not always publicly disclosed, was reportedly either a sensitive military installation or intelligence node, meaning it wasn't just a random strike. It had purpose, calculation, and clear objectives. The precision of the attack suggested advanced reconnaissance, possibly even insider knowledge or satellite assistance. The strike didn't cause mass destruction, but what it did was far more impactful. It undermined confidence. It forced Israeli military analysts and international observers to confront the possibility that even state-of-the-art systems could be penetrated. What amplifies the mystery is the lack of communication from typical sources. No known group claimed responsibility. No government issued a statement. No trail of wreckage, signal interference, or satellite imagery offered solid leads. In a world where even a drone strike can be traced within hours, this aircraft simply came, delivered its blow, and vanished. This hints at a new generation of aerial technology, possibly AI-piloted, highly stealth-capable, and autonomous. It could also indicate a state actor testing boundaries or a non-state entity demonstrating newfound power. For Israel, known globally for its Iron Dome, Arrow, and David Sling defense systems, the incident was a jolt. It wasn't just a security lapse, it was a psychological one. When the unexpected happens in a hyper-secure environment, it sends shockwaves not just within military command, but across diplomatic and intelligence communities worldwide. The sheer audacity and technical execution of this unidentified aircraft strike sets it apart as more than an event. It becomes a statement. The second key note focuses on the vanishing of the aircraft after the attack, which remains one of the most confounding elements of the entire incident. In an era where satellite coverage blankets nearly every square meter of the Earth, and where even small drones can be tracked with infrared, radar, or electromagnetic detection systems, the complete disappearance of an aircraft after carrying out a military operation is nearly unheard of. This disappearance did not just involve radar invisibility. It extended to the physical realm as well. No debris, no crash site, no captured signal trail, and no reported sightings were recorded after the strike. It was as if the aircraft simply ceased to exist, triggering theories that range from high-end stealth technology to even more exotic forms of evasion or electronic warfare. The ability to vanish post-strike suggests that the craft was not only built for combat, but also designed for deep penetration, reconnaissance, or clandestine missions. Now, the term imitation, this is not a capability associated with conventional military forces unless backed by cutting-edge R&D and massive technological investment. Vanishing without trace may imply the use of advanced radar-absorbing materials, extremely low altitude terrain-hugging flight, signal jamming capabilities, or real-time satellite navigation that avoids all known tracking systems. The complete absence of visual, audio, or thermal detection challenges even the most hardened intelligence agencies to reassess their assumptions about who has access to such capabilities. Equally troubling is the psychological and strategic effect of such a disappearance. In warfare and intelligence operations, detection and identification are crucial because they enable deterrence, retaliation, and analysis when an attack occurs without leaving any identifiable footprint. It robs the defending side of its ability to respond proportionally or even understand the threat. This uncertainty becomes a weapon in itself. The aircraft's vanishing act, therefore, was not just a tactical maneuver. It was part of the strategy, carefully engineered to inject fear, confusion, and hesitation into both military and political response chains. The implications ripple far beyond Israel. Defense systems around the world are calibrated based on known threats and predictable behavior. The introduction of an unknown and disappearing threat exposes a critical blind spot. The craft's post-strike disappearance was more than a mystery. It was a demonstration that some actors may now possess tools to operate outside the boundaries of international detection and accountability. The third keynote centers on Israel's shocked response following the incident, which is significant given the country's reputation for possessing one of the most advanced and layered defense architectures in the world. Israel's military strategy relies heavily on early warning systems, real-time intelligence, and rapid interception capabilities. So Beige is saying the military should not showed, and that's big for Israel. And the fact that an aircraft was able to carry out an attack and then disappear without triggering any meaningful counter-response represents a major failure, not just technologically, but psychologically. For a nation that places immense trust in its deterrence mechanisms, this event exposed an unexpected vulnerability, shaking the confidence of both the military establishment and the general public. This shock was not just the result of the attack itself, but from the realization that an unknown actor outmaneuvered multiple Israeli defense systems, including radar arrays, satellite imaging, aerial patrols, and cyber defense layers. These systems part of the well-known multi-tier defense strategy that includes Iron Dome, David Sling, and aero missile defense, are designed to protect against a variety of threats, ranging from short-range rockets to intercontinental ballistic missiles. An undetected aircraft breaching this complex network suggests either a complete technological bypass or an insider-level exploitation of security blind spots. Within Israel's defense community, such an event triggers immediate concern on multiple fronts. Who orchestrated it? How did it go unnoticed? And what message does it send to adversaries? If an aircraft could penetrate and escape Israel's defenses without being tracked, it means existing assumptions about regional superiority may no longer hold true. This has serious consequences for how Israel prepares for future conflicts, especially in a region where it faces asymmetric threats from non-state actors, as well as state-backed military forces. Moreover, the event introduces a level of strategic ambiguity that Israel is typically keen to avoid. For a country that maintains a doctrine of deterrence through strength and technological edge, an unknown aerial breach challenges the very foundation of that deterrence. The incident may force an urgent reassessment of Israel's surveillance, response protocols, and even its intelligence sharing with allies. Internally, it raises political and security debates about readiness, defense spending priorities, and strategic communication. The public revelation, or lack thereof, around this breach also signals the difficulty in managing both operational secrecy and public accountability during moments of unexpected military failure. The element of surprise did not just belong to the attackers. It became a profound moment of introspection for Israeli defense thinking. The daily data revealed another level of revelation. Our blockades, border, English, Hawk, Mon, residue, doubt, residue, doubt, residue, doubt, despair, doubt. There was an earthquake in day, and the fourth keynote highlights the eerie and telling silence from global media outlets and major world governments following the aircraft incident. In a world driven by instant news cycles, where even minor military actions are scrutinized in real time, the absence of substantial coverage or official statements is highly unusual. This silence is particularly striking given that the event involved Israel, a country at the heart of geopolitical tension and a breach of its heavily defended airspace. Under normal circumstances, such a bold and mysterious attack would dominate headlines, prompt emergency UN sessions, and generate responses from world powers. Instead, what followed was a coordinated or perhaps cautious quietness, as if the incident had never occurred in the public eye. This global silence opens up multiple interpretations. One possibility is that the event was too sensitive or ambiguous to confirm publicly. If the involved governments or intelligence agencies could not immediately determine the source or intent of the aircraft, they may have opted for strategic discretion to avoid missteps, panic, or diplomatic fallout. In intelligence and military circles, silence is sometimes used as a tool when information is scarce or when the implications of a response could spiral into unpredictable consequences. Another possibility is that certain nations may have been aware of the incident but chose to suppress public acknowledgement for fear of revealing vulnerabilities or admitting gaps in global surveillance. The role of media in this silence is equally significant. Modern journalism thrives on controversy, conflict, and exposure. Yet in this case, mainstream platforms showed a rare hesitation to explore or even mention the event. This could be due to lack of access, pressure from state actors, or editorial policies influenced by national security considerations. Whatever the reason, the media blackout leaves a vacuum, allowing speculation and unofficial narratives to flourish. In a digital age where silence often raises more questions than answers, the lack of transparency becomes a story in itself. Such global inaction also underscores a broader shift in how information is managed during uncertain crises. Instead of the usual flood of press briefings, expert panels, and satellite imagery analysis, the response to this incident was marked by calculated restraint. It may suggest that the event challenged not only Israel's defenses, but also the collective ability of global institutions to interpret and respond to new forms of military disruption. When the usual chorus of voices remains muted, it creates an unsettling impression that the attack was not just unexpected, but deeply unexplainable within the existing framework of international security dialogue. The fifth keynote focuses on the implications of the incident for the future of warfare, particularly how it signals a shift toward more advanced, stealth-based, and unconventional military technologies. The aircraft's ability to launch an attack and vanish without detection demonstrates a level of technological sophistication that outpaces conventional defense strategies. This event highlights the evolution of combat methods where traditional systems based on visibility, predictability, and interception may no longer be effective. In modern conflict, the edge no longer lies only in firepower or numerical superiority, but in the ability to operate unseen, strike with precision, and retreat without leaving a trace. This demands a complete rethinking of military doctrines that have dominated for decades. The event showcases the possibility that warfare is entering a phase dominated by autonomous, AI-driven platforms, quantum stealth, and cyber-electronic warfare integration. It's not only about aircraft that fly undetected, but about systems that can avoid GPS tracking, disable radar through jamming or decoys, and communicate across dark networks that defy interception. This level of integration blurs the line between military strike and cyber intrusion, making it harder to distinguish where a battlefield begins and ends. As these capabilities become more widespread, the focus of defense strategies will inevitably shift from brute force retaliation to anticipatory and preemptive technologies that rely heavily on AI, real-time data analytics, and space-based monitoring. The implications extend to how nations invest in defense. Rather than upgrading missile systems or building larger fleets, the emphasis will likely move toward research in unmanned systems, electromagnetic shielding, deep learning surveillance, and predictive threat modeling. Militaries will have to prepare for threats that are no longer launched from bases or submarines, but from platforms that don't need pilots or traditional runways, operating across borders with no allegiance and sometimes with no clear origin. This evolution also raises complex ethical and legal questions about accountability. If an aircraft can act without a human pilot and vanish without a trace, Who is responsible for its actions? The incident may force global institutions to draft new laws, treaties, and norms to deal with warfare that is increasingly automated and untraceable. The traditional frameworks of war, diplomacy, and vanish are being challenged. This signals that the future battlefield may be as much about information dominance and invisibility as it is about physical confrontation. The sixth key note explores the deeper symbolism of the incident, framing the aircraft not merely as a tactical tool, but as a representation of a shifting global power dynamic. This event illustrates how traditional power structures, once defined by visible strength, conventional armies, and recognizable enemies, are being disrupted by asymmetric capabilities. One is defined by asymmetric capability. The aircraft's silent approach, precision strike, and complete disappearance revealed that influence in the modern world is no longer about how loud or visible a force is, but how unpredictable and untraceable it can be. This marks a departure from the classical idea of dominance, where might was measured by fleet size, missile range, or troop numbers, to a new reality where unseen actors can achieve strategic goals with minimal presence. The concept of asymmetric power refers to the ability of smaller, lesser-known entities to challenge major players using unconventional methods. Whether this aircraft was deployed by a state, a proxy force, or a rogue actor, its success suggests that strategic surprise is now accessible to those without traditional military superiority. This levels the playing field in unsettling ways, where nations that once felt secure under their technological umbrella now face threats from entities that operate outside the predictable patterns of warfare. It emphasizes that control over advanced, untraceable technology can empower smaller forces to punch far above their weight, causing disruption disproportionate to their size or political influence. What makes this even more significant is the psychological impact on global leadership and security establishments. When a super secure state like Israel experiences an untraceable breach, it sends a message that no system is impenetrable and no nation is untouchable. It challenges the assumption that military might guarantees security and that surveillance equals control. The aircraft becomes a metaphor for a new breed of power, quiet, decentralized, and unbound by traditional military doctrines. It reflects how influence now flows not only through armies and weapons, but through intelligence, speed, adaptability, and ambiguity. This shift also affects global diplomacy and deterrence. In a world where threats can emerge and disappear in moments, nations are forced to adapt to an environment where warning signs are rare and the origin of danger is often unknown. The aircraft, by defying visibility and attribution, symbolize a modern power that thrives not by confronting authority head-on, but by maneuvering around it with precision and invisibility. This represents a transformation not just in how wars are fought, but in how power is understood. Conclusion of the entire speech. What happened on that day was not just an attack. It was a message written in silence, a warning painted in shadow. A single aircraft, unidentified and unseen, pierced one of the world's most secure defense systems and vanished without a trace. Israel, a nation built on vigilance and preparedness, was left stunned. But what followed was even more telling. Global silence. No condemnations. No explanations, just a shared, uneasy quiet. That quiet told us something deeper than words ever could. It told us that warfare is changing, that power is shifting, that the invisible is now stronger than the visible. It showed us that the next great threats will not come loudly, but silently, without flag, without face, and without fear of being caught. This was not just about military failure or technological surprise. It was a reminder that in this new world, the ones who adapt fast, think differently, and operate quietly will shape the future. Whether in defense, diplomacy, business, or innovation, the lesson is the same. Never underestimate what you cannot see. And never stop preparing for what no one else sees coming. So as we leave here today, I urge you to remember this. The world doesn't just belong to the powerful. It belongs to the prepared.